We'll start. Welcome, everyone, and Happy New Year. Good morning to some of you and good evening to others. I see we have people on from the spectrum of the Philippines all the way over to India, Indonesia. So we want, and in between, which would be us. Welcome. My name is Dana Austin, and I'm coming to you with the Globinar today for our author series. And our motto and our focus is to engage with authors. We are here to do that and to continue what was started almost 3 years ago by Gloria Peterson. So here you are, you're in the right place if you want to be amongst Global Chamber Author Series, which is a vibrant community of writers worldwide where we connect, share our diverse experiences, and inspire through books, workshops, collaborative projects, and leadership initiatives. So you may be an author showing up here and that you're perfectly welcome. You may not have even ever written a book and you show up here and you're perfectly welcome. Just know that we're going to continue inspiring excellence, which is a tone and tenet that was set by our founder, Gloria Peterson. And Gloria Peterson is a multi-published author. She is an image etiquette protocol consultant. She has been running this series for almost 3 years, and she's galvanized over 100 authors. Now, you guys may have been participating, and several of you have, I know, but you may not realize the breadth and the depth of the impact. So I thought, let's just start with that. And she was a speaker at our Transformational Writers Conference in Puerto Rico this year, an incredible speaker speaking on legacy. And she has a new book that's just been released that talks about mindfulness. So she inspired authors and aspiring authors. And then this torch was passed on to me in the month of December. And I took it with a little hesitation because she's done such an incredible job. But it's nice to know that the way that Global Chamber works is that we support one another. This is one of the core values for Global Chamber. So we're never really alone, right? You'll find whatever you need in this circle, or somebody can connect you to that. So here, who I am. Share a little bit about myself. I know many of you, but some may be listening and recording and maybe the first time. So my name is Dr. Dana Austin. I am the executive director for Global Chamber in Atlanta. So yes, I'm on the East Coast and we are feeling all the frigidness of this weather as well as some parts of the South. I'm a healthcare professional by training. I'm a registered nurse and a clinical researcher. I am a lover of tea. So you have heard me talk about tea, or you'll hear me talk about it, or you'll see me sipping on it, one or the other. And I come to you as a multi-published author as well, an award-winning best-selling author, and I'm humbled by those awards and accolades because I don't take them lightly. I know I'm in a circle of great people. I am the CEO and founder of Transformational Writers Conference. We host that every December in Puerto Rico. And this year we had the good pleasure of partnering and hosting our Global Chamber Puerto Rico a day prior to our conference. And as you know, Cesar Trabanco, our vice president for Global Chamber, lives in Puerto Rico, and he's been a part of our writers conference for the last 3.5, almost 4 years. So I do coach writers, and I'm a CEO and founder of a new nonprofit called Transformational Writers Academy. So I share all of that with you so you have a good sense of who I am, how I'm showing up. But I had to just share one thing about myself, and if I couldn't share anything else, mine would be the same as Gloria. I'm a connector, period. We love connecting people. We love connecting processes that work. We love connecting and improving on. And it happens so easily. And even though I've done all these things, I was a little hesitant when she approached me about this because I wanted to just make sure we can carry on in the same spirit of excellence. And so that's my goal. But I don't do it alone. I am blessed to be able to have our core team with us making this happen. Many of them are on the line today, so I'm going to call them by name and just know that you can reach out to anyone on the author series core team. We have Professor Ansif, which is right there. Hi, Professor. We have Shankar, it's about 8 or 9 o'clock at night. Thank you, Shankar. We have Gloria Peterson, of course. She's on as well. And I'm just checking to see who else may be on. But if I don't see their name, what I will do is just at least call their names. So we have Lainey Denslow. She's one of our core members as well. We have Dwayne Canva. He's also kind of who's one of our core members. And we also have, just checking. Did I miss who did I miss, Gloria?
Me.
I don't know. You're not on her core team. I don't think so. You're on our global chamber. But yes, you're here, Elise. I got you.
Well,
I
there's
missed.
Alex Devereaux.
Thank you so much. Alex Devereaux. I didn't put that slide up, so I was just going by presence. So
Mhm.
you have all of us, plus those who are part of Global Chamber Series who are authors. We are here. We can support you. As I mentioned, we have made the focus this year with the also support of Doug Bronke, he's a part of it, the team too, is to engage authors, to engage authors. So, when you engage, you have to be ready for the ride. And sometimes the ride is smooth, right? But sometimes it could be bumpy because you're going to get a lot of information and a lot of knowledge. So I would say put your seatbelts on and hold on. Hold on for two reasons, because you got two incredible speakers and authors today. I'm excited about what they're going to be sharing and what they can bring. So we do show up in our author series as a vibrant community of writers worldwide, where we connect, share our diverse experience, and inspire through books, workshops, collaborative projects, and leadership initiatives. We have made some changes in this new year, 2024, and I think you're going to like this integration of what we're going to be doing. So while we will continue with our author series, third Wednesday every month, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. We will be doing it every other month. Okay, so that will be 6 Global Chamber Author Series in the year of 2024, and the dates are here. We'll be able to post it online and make it like a calendar where you can view it or set up the invites. Elisa will help us with that. So you should have received invites from her or ourselves. We can do that as well. So in the past, in 2023 and before, there were always 3 authors during this discussion. At this time, there will be 2 authors featured during the author series and a moderator facilitator. This month, I'm going to be moderating. And then in 2 months, we'll have another one of our core members. Or if you're a part of Global Chamber and you would like to facilitate, you let us know. Okay, you have to be a member to serve in that capacity. And we invite you to join if you haven't already. And then we will have time for more dialogue and engagement and when we structure it this way. So I'm just giving you the lay of the land at this moment, but trust me, we will have more than enough time. And so what are we doing uniquely different other than having 2 speakers and our author series every other month? Well, I'm glad you asked. We have added workshops. And this is because our core team listens to what you're saying or what you're asking and saying, how can I get more opportunities to gain more information? Because it has been absolutely rich. And I will tell you that as members, you have access to the YouTubes for the Global Chamber Author Series. I suggest you go back, grab them, listen to them. I've even played them at my conference on sometimes, kind of like during break. Just let it play because it's good information, nuggets full of information. So we're adding workshops. We're doing this for 2 reasons, as I mentioned, because there's a need to kind of flush it out a little bit more. And we will be doing the workshops on the opposing months, same third Wednesday. However, it will be at a different time. Because at 11 a.m., we really are only able to gather people from the Philippines to parts of Europe and Africa, because they're 6 hours ahead of us. And so this is still a pretty decent time. But Shankar is what, 10 hours?
Yeah, but I'm willing to stretch. I'm so excited by what you've created, Jana.
You're always willing, and this is the best spirit. You must have started reading Dr. Ebay's book because willingness is a part of it. But tell the audience where you're located and the time that it is there, please.
I'm located in Ahmedabad, Gujarat, India. And I think what Dana says, around 10 and a half hours difference. So even if it is 11 o'clock there, it is going to be something like 10 or 10:30 in the night. So
Yeah.
that still works. I mean, not a problem.
And he
I will
comes
look
on
forward.
faithfully as a core, as a member, as a leader. He's there and he believes in leadership. So we thank you for that. But it's only fair, since we are a global chamber, that we offer some global chamber series in time zones where they're not having to be up at 3 in the morning or miss it
Yeah,
altogether or just listen to replays, right?
yes.
So guess what we're going to do? I'm going to need your input, guys, each of you. We're going to offer them either very early in the morning, 8 o'clock, or around 8 o'clock at night, because 8 o'clock at night here is a decent time there.
Yeah.
And when I reference time, it's going to always be referencing East Coast time, and you can kind of mark the time back from where you are. So we're going to be looking at that. I'm going to meet with my team before we do the first one on February 21st, and we also have topics set. So we're start to finish components. When we start this author series this month, this year, we're looking at what can we offer each members, because Doug always asks the question, as he asked of Gloria back in the day when she had this idea, what is the added value to the members? Is that right, Gloria? I'm going to let you speak on that, please. Just you speak on that, and then I'll pick up behind you.
Okay, well, when I originally came up with this idea and I presented it to Doug, his response was, what is the added benefit to the members? And I said, well, I don't know. We haven't done it. There is no track record. There's nothing for me to reference. So I really can't tell you that. All I can say is it's something I feel strongly about. As I attend all the Zoom meetings throughout the chamber events, I periodically will hear somebody say they're an author. And when they say that, I kind of go into the chat and I say, I want to know more about what you do as an author. And I start creating the list. That's how the core members came about, by the way. They're the ones that responded immediately. And then I presented to them the idea and they liked it. So then when I reached a year later, it took a year, I reached back to Doug with this idea that we can create another component to the whole global chamber thing for authors, because some of us are not in trade, import, export. So sometimes the Zooms don't really hit a note for us, but yet we want to be involved. And there is a lot of authorship going on. And then I
Mhm.
sent it to Doug, but I put in CC all of them. Well, that gives you a little clout. And that time he listened because I had support. And then we went with it, and it's just grown beautifully. And now it's time to pass the baton to Dana. And I do that because we all have unique ideas, and we tend to put those ideas out there, and we create programs based on them. But other people watching who have been engaged in it, they see things differently. They have different ideas. And I reached a point after about 3 years of doing this that, and watching Dana go, I thought, you know what? I don't have the ideas and experiences that Dana has. So she has something unique she can bring to the table. So it's time for me to go into the background and put Dana forward, because she's got a lot of experience in areas that I do not have. And authors will definitely benefit from it. How's that, Dana?
Oh my gosh, it's absolutely incredible, as you are too, Gloria. And I'm grateful and humbled, and I'm taking the challenge with love to continue connecting and being creative with offerings that add value, right? So we're starting to finish components that are going to help you. If you're starting with us now or listening in a recording later, that you can learn from each authors during our author series and then our workshops. Well, you'll by the end of the year, it will culminate with us in Puerto Rico again for the Global Chamber Meetup on December 4th. And then we'll have our Transformational Writers Conference for those who'd like to be a part from the 5th through the 8th. We're adding an extra day. We'll talk about that during some other time, but want to let you know that's what we're going to give you
Hello.
meat. Hi, we're going to give you meat and potatoes to help you be able to write a new book, write a book if you haven't written one, or collaborate. So we're considering all time zones in these offerings. We're going to be leveraging marketing because that has been a big request. We've got all this information. We've started our book. We've finished our book, but we want more meat and potatoes on marketing. So we're going to start that today. And then technology. Exceptional executive teams, a book by Duane Canova. So we're going to be utilizing technology because his background is so extensive, and he's a multi-author, and he's a part of our author series. So one of my favorite quotes, other than the one that you see up here, is "Start with the end in mind" by Stephen Covey. So we're starting with the end of the year in mind, but also use what you have in your hand. We have so much in our hand. And welcome, Natalia. And we want to increase our
Yes.
visibility. Good to have you. Where are you
Can I
chiming in
just
from?
say one word?
Please.
Yes. Yes, I am from Italy, but I'm working often in Africa, in any African country. I'm a global health advisor, and
Nice.
this is the first time I'm joining you. And I think I got wrong because I thought e-mobility, it was about transport.
Well, guess
So
what?
I
We may have
connected.
no you're from Italy, so you speak Italian. If I was going to say something in Spanish, don't worry, because there's somebody in this room that deals with transport. And if we have enough time at the end, we'll do a little bit of breakout. And you may be able to meet them, or Cesar, who's listening, our vice president, will hear what you're asking for. And what we do well here is make soft introductions. So you hang tight. You're in the right room, Natalia. You're meeting a group of people
Okay.
that perhaps you would have never met have you just gone to that Globinar. So hang
Okay,
tight.
thank
Benvenuta,
you.
benvenuta Natalia.
Grazie, grazie. Chi c'è? Chi
Antonio,
c'è?
l'aiutiamo noi, via.
Professor Ansis, he's a part of our core team. See? Oh my
See,
God.
I welcome her to the group in Italian.
I love it.
Thank you.
When I say to each of you that I am delighted that you're here and my heart is moved because I know great things are going to be birthed from what's inside of you in terms of books and collaboration. Our other thing is that we're going to be able to continue measuring our success as an author series for Global Chamber by looking at, hey, how many people are actually attending live, listening to it in recordings on YouTube, engaging and making connections? How many books are going to come out of this year? And how many collaborative books are going to come out of this year? We're going to be looking for that. So don't sit still. If no one has asked you, you ask. If no one said, hey, do you want to collaborate with me? And you realize it would be a good alignment, approach them. Use the word boldness to this year. Let boldness be your word for the year and dare to do something that you would not normally do. And also, we'll have opportunities for those who would like to participate in the Global Chamber Authors series about your book as for members. Okay, if you're not a member, you go ahead and join and get that off the plate. Now, I'm going to move slides because we got to get going. Our speakers are waiting, and you're waiting for them. Any comments or questions before I move on to our speakers? And thank you, Natalia and Professor and Gloria. All right. I'm going to I have the pleasure today to introduce to you one of our first speakers for 2024 for our Global Chamber Author Series. And that smile is as infectious as his personality is. Dr. J. Ibe Agbanyi is an executive coach. He is a scientist practitioner and an author, multi-author. He is a contributor at the Psychology Today for Forbes and the International Honor Society and Psychology. He is a multiple best-selling author of The 5 Principles of Collaboration. And remember, I mentioned the word collaboration is what we're going to focus on this year. So guess what? We're starting off on that. And with these 5 principles of collaboration, which he uses to coach executives on how to improve human relationships in workplaces. He has earned both master's and doctorate in industrial and organizational psychology from Grand Canyon University and management and leadership executive certificates from both MIT, Sloan School of Management, and Harvard School, Kennedy School. So he's got experience, he's got background, he's got knowledge, he's got wisdom, and he is bringing it to us today in a collection, his book. He is a member of both the International Council of Psychologists and the International Coaching Federation, but his highest recognition is that he's a member of Global Chamber, Phoenix, Arizona. Welcome, welcome. Welcome, Dr. Ibe. We are glad to have you.
I'm so glad to be here as well. I'm very humbled and grateful to have each and every one of you here. First of all, I must thank you, Dana, and congratulate you for, should I say, the milestone or your new position. We're all here to give you support, however necessary that we have to make sure we move the organization forward and to help each other. So thank you so much for feeding that position.
Thank you. I appreciate your support as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Gloria, for giving us this opportunity to be here, because you started it, you introduced it, and here we are.
Yeah.
So we thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
I also thank our founder, Doug, for being such a humble, and when you get to meet him, you will not believe it, that he's a force in whatever he does. So we are very good. I'm very honored to have met him. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Dana.
No, I'm just agreeing. I couldn't say it better. Yes, he is a force, a humble force. And I've not physically seen Doug, but I understand he's 6'4", 6'5". So the humility in that height doesn't seem to go together, but he carries it well.
Yeah, he's indeed a gentle giant. I've met him a few times, and it was pleasant. So thank you all for having me here.
Thank you. I would like to let the audience know that you have an opportunity to ask questions of our authors. You can do it in one of two ways. You can feel free to place them in the chat, or we'll have a moment after he speaks where you can do that, or a combination of the two. I like to do a combination of the two just so that we can keep the momentum going. All right. So one of your 7 books that you have published is the one that we're going to talk about today. And that's the 5 Principles of Collaboration. The 5 Principles of Collaboration. That book title resonated with me. The components I was able to review resonated with me. And so we're just going to jump right in. I'm going to ask the first question, and then we'll let the rest take it away. So my first question is, how did you decide on this particular book? Was there a need that you have experienced in your professional career as a psychologist that you saw, I need to put this in writing? What brought about this book?
Yeah, thank you for that question. The first book that I wrote was called The Power of Engagement, how to find balance in work and life. And this book actually is one of the chapters. I think it was chapter 7 of that book. And I realized that there was a lot of attention in that particular chapter. I think it's called Leading by Example or some sort. So when I presented this particular chapter at a conference in Florida, and it drew so much attention, the way people responded. At the end of the presentation, I did a survey, and people actually wrote, what they thought about the presentation. And it was, should I say, it was driven by, the audience were driven by emotion, finding the 5 principles very simple to follow. So after that, I thought about writing my dissertation on that topic. And I ran it by one of my colleagues. Eventually, I decided not to do that because I wasn't quite sure then how to approach it. But when I did several conferences, both internationally and nationally, the attention that I realized from there was people were hungry to see the fact that you have 5 principles. There was some kind of element that resonated with people. So I decided to make it a book. And I did that because as a workplace scientist, I realized that most people don't get along, not because they don't like each other. It's because these 5 principles are not coordinated. If you think about it, though, trust is a very important element. Respect is a very important element. Empowerment is a very important element. Just what Doug has done now is to empower us to have this, what do you call it, webinar or Globinar. This is empowerment. So in a way, this is collaboration as well. And then when you talk about willingness, of course, nothing will happen if we're not willing or committed to doing it. And of course, effective communication. So these are the 5 principles that I shared in my book. And several academic scholars have cited this work, I mean, internationally, and some people have used it to write their dissertation. And I mean, it goes on and on. So I found the need that employees are not getting along in the workplace, not because they don't like the job, it's because people don't know how to get along. And by focusing on these 5 principles, we can ask ourselves that simple question: which one are we missing? What is affecting our collaborative efforts? So by approaching it from that angle, now you have a tool to work with. Instead of saying, for example, I don't trust this guy. Well, you have to ask yourself, what part of the trust you don't trust? Because there are 3 different kinds of trust.
Oh my.
We have goodwill trust, we have competence and contractual trust. So when you say you don't trust a person, you have to dig a little deeper to find out why you don't trust the person, not just a blanket statement. So in a nutshell, this book was came into life as a result of how people responded to it and my experiences across industries, semiconductor, delivery industry, restaurant, and so forth. So I think in a way, it's a tool that we can use to humanize the workplace.
I love it. So if I understood you correctly, this book was birthed from another book that you have written, and there was The Power of Engagement. And you saw that your experience professionally saw that there was a hunger and a need, desperation to be able to address these 5 principles that you spoke on, trust being one, respect being another, willingness being another, empowerment and effective communication. And when I started in my undergrad, I started studying communication, public relations. Eventually I moved, I thought, well, maybe I'll be an attorney. And I know that's something you and I share in common, because at some point you were looking at being an attorney. And I think one key component of that is that we like history. If you're really going to like the law, it's because you like history and you like to set things straight. So I think that effective communication is transportable to in any industry, not just as an author, as well as the others. Some of the core principles for Global Chamber you mentioned in your 5 principles that we embrace. I'd like to open the room up for questions of what they may have for you, and then I have a few other things for us to touch on before we get on with our next author and speaker. So what questions do you all have for Dr. Ibe today?
Sorry, Natalia again.
No problem, Natalia.
I think more than a question, I would like to read it and send to some colleagues, because actually I'm a manager and I've been sometimes having problems with human resources. But in particular myself, one time my contract was cut because of ineffective communication from the side of the employer, but it was me who paid the consequences. And I felt that the workplace was not human at all. And in many cases, it is not human at all. You may even report some issue of fraud, and you are tackled, and you are the first victim because you reported it. So I really like this idea of integrity and humanity in the workplace. Sometimes we are not all the same. We don't have any religion, any value. Sometimes who is more attached to a religion or something, it is having more values than others. Others just think about money. They don't think about you. And when you are needed, they use your CV. When you are not needed, they find any opportunity to take you out. So
Yeah.
really, really congratulations for this. And if you can share where we can get it, and for sure I will share it around. Thank you.
Thank you,
you so
Natalia.
much.
So you're absolutely, what I'm hearing from you is that this book resonates with you because of your experience in the workplace and a lack of humanity shown to individuals. The integrity wasn't there. So those 5 components are essential, those principles. And if you would, Dr. Ibe, you can put your link in the chat, or I can put it in there too because I have it. And I'd like to
Okay.
ask you a few other questions, and I'll post it if you don't.
Thank you.
So my other question is, well, actually, anybody else has questions for him? Sorry. Okay, I'm going to continue the conversation and then we'll take at least 1 or 2 more questions. So my question to you is, this often comes up when I'm coaching my writers, soon to be authors. Well, how long did it take you to write your book, and where did you start? Since I get that question posed to me often, I'm going to pose it to you.
Yeah, thank you. But how long does it take? I guess it depends on each work. So I'll probably say it depends on what I'm working on. But I'll say about 6 months.
Okay.
Reason being, when I travel, I do a lot of lived experience to incorporate it in my work. As much as I use research to support it. So I take my time to go through the material, just like these 5 principles of collaboration. I presented it in Dubai, in Amsterdam, I think in South Africa, and a lot within the state. So it takes me that long because I want to put meat on it. I want it to be evidence-based and also lived experience where people can get a lot from it. And what was the second question again? The structure?
How long does it generally take for you to write it? And your inspiration was the other one. You use your travel and your experiences to be able to inspire you, but you also recognize where there was a need. And so what often comes up is, how do you choose a book? How long does it take? And I want to entertain at least one other question that one of you all may have for him. Go ahead, Professor Ansip, and welcome, Lainey.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
So the question that I have is this, is a bifolded. In our practice of about 40 years, when we're talking about collaboration is communication. And communication is a function of behavioral styles. So there are 16 styles with substyles. So they're controller, promoter, supporter, and analyzer. How do you suggest, or what are your findings in your research and book and work in terms of how do you have 2 controllers styles talk to each other and hear each other?
Well, I'll start the answer by saying there's what is called memorized emotion.
Yes.
Yeah, memorized emotion is basically people respond to events based on what they already know. So if I come to you, for example, the demographics or your physique or your physical appearance might be my first data. So based on that preconceived notion, I'll be responding based on that first until I start to deconstruct it. So if you have 2 controllers, first of all, this book also is about working from inside out. The 5 principles are actually for you as a person before you start doing leadership and or workers. So each leader has to ask himself, how humble am I, or how respectful am I, or how trustworthy am I, or how am I communicating my thought process effectively? I don't know if that makes sense. So, in other words, you have to effectively communicate what the pain points are. If somebody is a controller, there's nothing wrong with approaching the person and say, hey, this is this is what I'm thinking. This is what I thought about you. What do you think? You just have to confront it and humanize the process. It's not something that you pretend your way out of it. I was telling Dana yesterday, our background in behavior lets me to know when I walk in the room, I can feel whether the room is harmonized or is it tense. So it will take me seconds to decide how to behave in that environment. But people who do not have the training, you can easily approach somebody and express, how you feel. By that, you start breaking down those 5 principles. And I have seen some executives who are very uptight at the beginning. But by the time we break down these 5 principles, they start to work on themselves. So they start to break what I call their internal prison walls, where you put yourself in a box, you think you are all that. So starting with effective communication and being upfront and open to the approach, that's how I treat it.
And how do you deal with different, the question, thank you so much for the details. And one of the major challenges in people when they talk to each other is that very often the foundation of their definitions is different and their point of view is different. So they seem to they argue the end instead of discussing the beginning, because the reason for lack of communication is really a lack of agreement on the definition of what you're discussing. Especially, let's say husband and wife, right? The wife says, "You're not listening to me," and the husband says, "I always listen to you." So, the disagreement comes from a total different definition of the action upon listening. How do you deal with that in your practice or trainings or seminars?
I will use a quote and then I'll just leave it at that for the interest of time. Justice Sonia Sotomayor, Supreme Justice Sonia Sotomayor, she said a very profound quote when she went to University of Oklahoma to speak with law students. She simply said that hearing is not the same as agreeing. You can hear things and disagree, but you are not entitled to disagree until you understand. So the substance there is understanding. People disagree without understanding what it is that they are disagreeing. So you can hear all you want, but you are not entitled to disagree until you understand what you are disagreeing.
Oh, that's quite profound. And it's really a good segue to kind of wrap up this section too. Oh, I love this because what I'm hearing from this, and as we discussed, I knew that a workshop is going to be birthed out of this because of what you have to say and what the needs of the members. And the questions really lend itself to wanting more. So we'll be looking at a workshop to come out of this to really to talk more about these principles and flush them out. Coming most likely in August. We looked at June or August. So just stay tuned, follow Global Chamber. And we would love to just express our appreciation, Dr. Ibe Agbayim, for being one of our first speakers today. And I do have one question because I'd like to talk about marketing. Now, your cover of your book, just think about this. We'll answer it later if we have time. The cover of the book, making the decision to use that particular picture. What are some things you had to get clearance for and rights? We won't answer it now, but we need to be sure we address that because that belongs to somebody.
Okay.
The United States, as a matter of fact. All right. Thank you for your time. And if you have questions for Dr. Ibe, his information is in the chat. Please follow him on LinkedIn, follow him on his website, set up an appointment if you want to have more questions and you want to do some consultation. This is the beauty of this collaboration today. Now, our next speaker.
Thank you. If I can suggest, this can be used also when there are evaluation or workshop or human resource empowerment trainings with the international organization. These books can really be helpful and useful. So we may talk with Dr. Ibe to find out how we can do it.
Yes, Natalia, for the
So,
sake of time, I'm going to direct you to the link and his link. You guys connect. This is what he does. So he can do it in Italy from Arizona, or I'm sure if you want him to come to Italy. And reach out to Gloria if you want to learn about how to do your books in different languages. She just translated one of hers. Her information should be in the chat. So if you want this book in Italian, Doc, reach out to her. She'll tell you how she got hers in Spanish. All right.
okay,
We've got to
thank
give
you.
the next speaker ample time because it's only fair, right? And our next speaker is no stranger to Global Chamber Author Series. She has been a member since she's been a member of Global Chamber. I know she's spoken on this platform before, and she's done so many things. I've seen her work evolve. So I'm going to speak about her and what I know of her. I know Elise Krenzel, not Elisa, to be a very vibrant, colorful person with a rich history in writing. She started as a rock journalist. At a very tender age of 19, she decided she was going to go on the road, and she can tell you her story, or you can some of her story. You can read some of it in her book. I know she was affiliated with KISS, the group. She's definitely a world traveler because of her experiences in this capacity, and she is an author. Her number one new release, her book last year was Under My Skin. She's a ghostwriter, publisher, and she's a member of Global Chamber Austin. And that's not the length and the breadth of all that she does, but this is who she is. And we want to introduce and welcome to you, Elise. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Dana. And of course, thank you, everyone. I won't go through the whole list again because of time, but thank you, everyone. And thank you, Dr. Ibe, for your very informative discussion. It's interesting. So I don't really know where we're going to begin today, but I would like to just briefly tell you all that I have two companies. I have a creative writing platform, which is just my name, EliseKrenzel.com, where I coach and I offer online courses for creative writing in nonfiction. That said, I've also worked with nonfiction non-authors who have become fiction authors because they started basing a story on their life. And I don't know if you can see this with the background that I have, but I've written it in the chat. Anyway, one of the books that I helped co-author and ghostwrite is You've Got to Lose to Win. This was an IT consultant. Many of my clients are consultants, lawyers, business people, and they have an urge to write. Now, a lot of us do in this day and age, and many of us do not come from a writing background, which is fine. And so in the case of Will Simpson, we took a memoir idea and fictionalized it. And now that consultant quit his job, which gives me the greatest pleasure, and is now a full-time fiction author. Great. So
Yes.
my second business is based on basically 3 decades of public relations and marketing. My background is in marketing communications as a 3-time serial entrepreneur, but that's sort of a non sequitur because entrepreneurs are serial. That's the nature of the business, right? I'm sure a lot of people here in this discussion know that. So yes, while I've started as a rock journalist way back in the day, I leveraged that and owned the first foreign-owned talent and booking agency in Japan when I was 21. And I lived there for 5 years. Then I parlayed that back into America, where I became a marketing facilitator for Japanese companies coming to the States back in the day when they bought up everything, such as Rockefeller Center. Thereafter, I formed a tech publishing company with a partner and group of people in Switzerland. How is a whole other story in my second memoir, which is almost done, called A Rogue Entrepreneur, and how she did it around the world. That should be released February or March of this year. And And
Awesome.
so that tech publishing company was on the bleeding edge before the internet really took off. Basically, we had travel guides on CD-ROM with GPS. Okay, this is crazy.
This is
It's
before time. This is ahead of the time.
ahead of the time.
Yes, you were ahead of your time in every sense.
So
let me,
yeah, go on. Go on.
I mean, your story is intriguing. When you tell your story, when we read portions of it, even, it's someone who has no fear. Fearless would be the word. Because at 19, to be able to leave the Bronx, where we live too, and I'm sure you were over in the community near, I wrote a novel about this one over in Riverdale. Were you in Riverdale?
Not at that time, later on, but yeah.
Yes, but that was a heavily Jewish community as well as Grand Concourse, where our grandmother lived. How do you leave what you know culturally, religious wise, and then branch out, not just to live this life, but then to come back full circle to write about it? And how did that impact your family once you published these stories?
Okay, well, briefly, I come from a storybook dysfunctional family, so I couldn't get away fast enough. That's number one. But on the other hand, when I was 16, my father and stepmother gave me the gift of a lifetime, which was a teenage tour to Europe. So I had seen Europe at 16 for 6 weeks over the summer and decided right then and there is no way I'm staying in the States. I didn't feel American. I don't know if anyone can relate to that, but America was not my country. New York was my country,
Mm-hmm.
but the rest of the country, I just couldn't relate to. I could relate to Europe as a whole. Any case, when you say come back full circle and how did it affect? Well, one of the reasons I waited to write this book, which has been in the making for decades, was until everyone passed away
Okay.
to protect the guilty.
Well, that's a good segue to this next question, and then we're going to open it up to the audience as well. Whenever you're writing a memoir, I'm sharing some information as well as asking. I know you certainly have to get the permission of those that you're going to write about to include them in your story. So you did something, which was, required a lot of patience. At least you had to wait and wait until they all were gone, whereby you did not need permission. And do you feel by doing that, you can write in a space of authenticity? Because that's really where people connect with you, on that level of authenticity.
Yes, and I would also like to say that for many other books that I've ghostwritten, the people are still alive, and there's ways around it. You don't need permission. It's your opinion. So even if it comes off as slander to the other person, they can't prove that. I'm writing a book right now. I'm ghostwriting a book about I'm ghostwriting a book about somebody famous.
Mhm.
The information contained within there are other people's opinions. Now, this particular celebrity is not going to sue those people because that's just absurd. They have to prove it. That's number one. And
Mhm.
so, for example, another book that I helped ghostwrite is called Management by Intent, The 5 Principles. Parlaying to you, Dr. eBay, The 5 Principles. This person that I ghostwrote the book for is of Muslim descent, and we're using spiritual principles in business. Okay, is that something that you can sue for? It's based on religious principles from a 14th century text by Dr. El Ghazali. No, you rewrite it in the same way that you can reverse engineer a product. I hope that answers your question. Dana.
Absolutely. It certainly does. I'd like to give our audience an opportunity to ask you more questions. And as they're preparing to unmute themselves, when we were in Puerto Rico at our Transformational Writers Conference, and we have what we call an immersion experience, at least, where we actually go out in the community. We meet with other authors, publishers. We experience the culture and the truest of sense, whether it's music, food, the rhythm of it all. And I know I kind of tagged you, and I believe somebody else did. I didn't share a lot of the details, but I met your match in Puerto Rico. He was like you, but the male version. And you know, as soon as I met him, I was like, oh my gosh, you've got to meet Elise, because he too, as an author that came to speak to our group, traveled the world. He's a musician, though. That's the difference, is that he's a musician. And he's played with some of the best, including the Beach Boys, George Benson. I know it's a big difference there, but he's very capable. And the only thing I could think of as a connector, and I'm sure Gloria was thinking the same thing, and Stephanie as well, because we discussed it. Oh, we've got to make sure you two meet, because your stories are incredible, and the potential for some type of collab was there. So just know that your global tribe is looking out for you, even if we're not in the same space at the same time. And I'd like to open up the room for questions for Elise, please.
Before the question, excuse me, please connect me with that person. That sounds awesome.
We definitely will. I think I tagged him and you on LinkedIn, but I'll do a soft introduction. I'll make it more intentional.
I
Okay,
have a
what
question,
questions do we have?
Elise, as an author, before I published the book, I thought in terms of two things. One, why am I writing the book? And two, what is the intended benefit of my book for the readers?
Yes.
So I'm going to turn the question to you.
Why did I write this book, or why do I write other people's books?
No, why do you write this book, and what was your intention originally?
Okay, I wrote this book so that I could make peace with my background and my past. And the intention was to make peace with my past and to objectify my experience so that I was no longer suffering from my background.
I
Excellent.
love that.
Thank you, Lisa.
Love that.
You're welcome.
And you know, some people, I mean, there's various reasons. You bring up a great point, Professor Ansip. People write for various reasons, some for reconciliation, like with the past, some for creating a legacy, some for transfer of knowledge. And so knowing why you're writing is going to be key. Your writing could be totally private, like it could be something that you're writing for yourself. It could be cathartic, and you might not even want to publish it, and that's perfectly fine too. It could be something that could have a benefit and add value to those that you're targeting. You share something in common, and other people will like to know, how did you navigate through this course? So one other question for her, please. Thank you. And who else has another question?
I do have a question. Yeah,
Go
I was gonna add as my colleague always say, that whose waters or whose weight are you carrying? You know, sometimes we go through life carrying somebody, our ancestors' waters. So in this case, you just mentioned you actually confront that by asking your question, asking yourself, you know, saying to yourself, I'm not going to carry somebody else's waters, my ancestral waters. Yeah. So that's a profound way to approach. And thank you for writing that book. I've not read it, but I'm very much interested.
Well, thank you. I feel we have a mission in life. All of us have a mission. And I know that my mission has been to discover who I am, which is the age-old question, right? That from ancient religions to every philosophy, who am I? And I had to peel back all those layers to discover that. But I did the work. And I think that as a ghostwriter, this is very helpful, because you need to peel back layers of your clients in order to write in their tone, their voice, and their giving their message, because they could come from extremely divergent backgrounds. How are you going to relate? So you need to get to the core of who they are, and they may not even be able to verbalize it. So that's your job as the ghostwriter to do that.
Absolutely. Well, you know, at least one thing, thank you, Dr. Iber, for that question and comment. One thing, at least, that I know for certain is that whenever we open up the room for discussion and question, there's more. It's like we're looking at the time. We have exactly 3 minutes. I definitely want to give Doug the closing remarks and show one last slide. So out of this, Elisa and I have spoken about a ghostwriting workshop, and she and I may be collaborating doing that down the road, looking at the fall and picking a month that will be able to do that. I want to acknowledge our transformational writers, speakers, and authors that are on. I'm Nicole Floyd Turner, Stephanie Austin, Cesar Trabanco, and Gloria Peterson. And so you've been quite quiet, Andy, but I'm going to show this last slide. And if you have a question or a comment, then feel free to ask. I'm not putting you on the spot. I'm just providing opportunity. So marketing is a very key part of writing. When do you start marketing? That's the question. First, we want to thank you, Elise, for this incredible share and your presence today as well. And we're just going to move right into the marketing piece, and then we'll have Doug close us out for the day. When do you start marketing? Just put it in the chat for me, okay? Or if you're on mute, you can say it.
Before you write the book.
Before you write the book, yes. Spoken by a well-seasoned author. You start marketing before you write that book. You don't wait until it's released to start talking about it. You don't wait till it's released to start putting information, engaging people in it. You start writing marketing before you write it. And then you engage your author's tribe. You build an author's tribe, okay? These are some of the tips that we're sharing with you because it's Globinar, Global Chamber Author Series, tips, author speakers, and so forth. So these are the tips if you're missing them. Write them down. I put these numbers up here because if you have not noticed, many books that have sold with numbers, these are the numbers that are often used. This is a marketing ploy. It's a marketing tip. People like things in 3s, 5s, and 7, and sometimes 10. Okay? Much more than that, and you lose them. But I can follow you and your book on the 5 principles of collaboration, and even Elise's next book on, she's going to have 5 principles on it too. I can follow that, or the 7 principles of, or the 3 nuggets of. So this is a marketing tip. If you're considering writing something or you're working on something, if you've got points that you can highlight, make that a part of your book or your subtitle. And here's some other tips. We talked about this. You want to identify your target audience, find out where your target audience hangs out. Where are they? Are they actually on LinkedIn? Maybe not. They might actually be on TikTok if it's a younger group, and depending on the genre. You might find them actually on Pinterest. There's a lot that hangs out there too, and marketing. So you got to find out who your target audience is, where they hang out, and then connect with them. And then added these components from Dr. Ibe's book. You want to build trust, respect, willingness, empowerment, and communicate effectively. Not just show up when you need something of them, build a relationship. That's our tips for today. We had 2 incredible speakers, authors. We want to give them a round of applause, and just know that our next Global Chamber Author Series will be not February for the speakers, but it'll be March 20th. And in February, we're going to have our workshop on the 21st of February. And we will provide that time after I meet with our incredible core team to see if 8 a.m. or 8 p.m. or somewhere thereabout would work to grab the audience around the world. So Doug, our incredible CEO and a part of our Global Chamber Series as a facilitator as well, we'd like to welcome you to give the last and the closing remarks, please.
Thank you, Dana. And Lainey, glad you could make it. We got you in. That's good. Hey, eBay and Elise, just really fantastic information today, very inspiring. Dana, with your inspiration on moving forward in a way that allows us to teach in between months and then talk to people. I just love the way this has all evolved so very much. So thank you all. Do you know, or do we have a sense of who will be the March speakers? Is that one going to include Terry Morrison by any chance?
Oh yeah, thank you for asking. Look, he just knows what they ask. We actually have our lineup for March. We
Yeah.
have Morrison and Gloria. They're going to be speaking on their books. So we're all set for March. What we have to work on is our February workshop. And I think I have someone in mind. At least I'd like to kind of move you further along in the fall for ghostwriting. And we talked to Dr. EBay about doing a workshop on breaking out those 5 principles a little bit more. And Elise and I might do ghostwriting together, but I'll do one, and then we like to solicit what you want to hear. But marketing, oh, and I've got Anthony Joyner, who's been my writing coach and a friend and a colleague, and he created a platform for writers that I've shared with you all in the past. So we're going to have him come on perhaps in March. I just realized my dates are off a little bit. I've got to fix them because this one should be May. I think so. So don't worry, we'll get the corrected dates up and available, but we do have 2 speakers for March already set, and we're working on our workshop for February.
Fantastic. For some reason, a lot of the new members I'm speaking with are either authors or seek to be authors. Somebody I'm making an introduction to right now who just joined wants to be an author, but she's not here. So I'll re-emphasize the importance of coming to this and coming to February. Also on January 25th, another new member, Daryl Stinson, is speaking. He's a 2-time TEDx speaker and a best-selling author and an extraordinary leader. He's speaking on turning your message into a movement. And I think that's an important lesson for us. Gloria Peterson turned her message into a movement by creating this. Dana has created all sorts of movements from the things that she's doing, and each of us want to have more impact. So let's keep working with each other, collaborating with each other, finding ways to have a greater impact on the things that matter to us. And there's a lot of shared things that matter to us as we learn every day, including on MLK Day on Monday. Let's keep making progress. Thanks, Dana, for your leadership. Thanks all for attending. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.